Okay, so we saw here the explanation of why the answer to that percentage question of your exam was 0, because the highest data type involved in this expression will is integer, and because marks obtained by total marks will always be 0 point something, which will be, because highest data type being 0, so 0 will be the final output of this term calculation, and 0 into 100 will be 0. So now moving ahead, there was one question in the assignment as to why how to sweep the or swap the variables uh, without using third variable. Okay, so let's say we had int x comma y, and we'll not take other variables, and we'll write x equals to 2 and y is equals to 3. How to interchange the value of x and y without using a third variable? Third variable was pretty simple, so we'll see without using that. So what we are going to do is, here if we are writing x equals to 2, what will happen in the memory? One random block in the RAM or random byte in the RAM will be accepted. That will be assigned the value of 2, and a label of x or the identifier x will be attached to it. Similarly, when this line is processed, y is equals to 3, another block in the memory that will be labeled y, and the value 3 will be put inside it. What we will do further is, we will write x is equals to x plus y. This what we are going to do. Always remember, first right side expression is evaluated, and the value of the expression is then put on the variable labeled as whatever is given on the left side of equal to. So first x plus y will be evaluated. As a result, x will be substituted by 2, y will be substituted by 3, answer will be 5, and this 5 will be put again in the variable labeled or identified by x. That means the earlier value of x, that was 2, will be overwritten, will be erased, and will be overwritten with the new value of this expression, that is 5. When your program comes to this line, x has changed to 5, y is still 3. Next line, what we are going to do is, we are going to do y is equals to x minus y. Now see, what is the value of x minus y? What is the latest value of x? The latest value of x is that memory location identified by x, or the variable labeled as x, has the value 5. So this will be, x will be 5, y which is containing 3, because it has not been changed yet. So y is containing 3. So 5 minus 3 will give you 2, and this 2 will be assigned to y. So earlier value of y, which was 3, will be overwritten with the new value, which is 2. Now the latest value of y is 2 and x is 5. Let's go ahead. X is equals to y, x minus y again. Now we know the latest value of x is 5 and y is 2, because y was changed very recently. So latest value we have to take of the variables. So latest value of x is 5 and y is 2. So 5 minus 2 will give you 3, and this 3 will again overwrite the value which is existing as of now in x. So a value which is existing as of now in x is 5. So 5 will be overwritten by 3 in the memory location x, and the value which was existing prior to this, that is 5, will be erased. Now after this point, after the execution of these lines, first this line, when the program reaches this line, okay, so you can see after it, if you are going to print x and y, okay, you will find that value of x has become 3 and value of y has become 2. Initially we started with value of x as 2 and y as 3. So we find that by the time we execute this line, our values get interchanged. Okay. So, is this interchanging thing without using the third variable clear to all? Okay. Jayesh, Maruti, Hasmita, fine. Good. So, okay. Now, before we move ahead, what we are going to do is we are going to take up. I'll not solve this question. I'll give you the idea of this question. And if any of you have made mistakes, I have gone through a few assignments. Okay. So this one. For year, month, day question was there. So value is given in number of days, and you have to display the output like that number of days is equivalent to this many years, this many month, this many week, and this many day. So what we can do, what can be done in that question? Okay, so the question was days, number of days are given. Let's say number of days entered by the user is 565. Okay, now, or rather we'll take 665, and few things were asked to assume. What was asked to assume? 1 year is equals to 365 days, and 1 month, each month in every year will be containing 30 days. Okay, of course it is known that 1 week is equals to 7 days. Okay, so what we can do now, you are going to help me out first mathematically without writing programs. So if these many days are there, what will be the number of years? Let's say years is the variable. So what can we do to find the number of years? Yes, tell me. This operator, what's this operator? That is escape sequence. Aryansh, before we move ahead, Aryansh, don't get confused. This double backslash is escape sequence, which is used to print only this backslash in your message. Okay, okay, fine. No, it's good to make mistakes so that you keep on revising. That's really good. Okay, so yes, divide by 365. So correct. So like Ishan said, divide by 365. Jayesh, yes, exactly. So if you divide by 365, let's say 665 is there. So divide by 365. Okay, so number of years, and we will only take the integer part. We will see how to take the integer part. Okay, let's say this gives us the value as the quotient we have to take. When you are dividing 665 by 365, this part is 1. Okay, so 300. Fine. So this is year, number of years. What is this? Number of days in addition to the 1 year. So these many days are still left. Okay, so had there been 65 more days, then it would have become 2 years. Okay, so this remainder, when you divide 665 by 365, is the leftover days in addition to these many years. Okay, in addition to these many years. So these additional days we have to convert into month, week and days. So now our next target is, because we have found the number of year as 1, which is this, the question part, remaining are 300 extra days. So these 300 extra days has to be converted into month, week and days. So now in 300, let's say I'll not take this figure, it will become very simple. I'll make it something like 265 or 565, let's say, because then there won't be much to calculate. 565. Okay, so this will become 200. Okay, so let's say 200 days are left. So how many months are there? If you convert to leftover 200 days, okay, so how many months will be there in that? Each month is supposed to have 30 days. So what we will do to find the months? Okay, see, we are going to write, Nazima, only the years. Okay, this 1.8 years we are not going to write, because we have to get the output as integer number of years, integer number of months, integer number of weeks and integer number of days. Okay, so 10 months around. How did you find that? What we did was, in the leftover days, when we divide this 200 by 30, so again the remainder of previous thing, that is 200 by 30, let's say 6, so you got 180, 20. So that means 6 months. Okay, this will be taken, will be month, and this is still, these many days are left. Okay, 20 days are now remaining after finding the number of years and number of months. Okay, now what can be done? How do you find the week? The number of weeks is equals to, after finding the number of years and number of months, whatever is the number of days left, okay, that has to be divided by 7. So 20 by 7. I think, Hashmita, you wrote 4 here for some reason. Okay, that will be in your assignment. So I think that is 7, because 1 week has 7 days. So this will again give you 20, 2 is 14, still 6 days are remaining, and this is the number of weeks. Finally, number of days will be whatever is left over here, so 6 days. Okay. Is this concept clear? How did we arrive at number of years, number of months, number of weeks and number of days? Yeah, 2 weeks, 6 days. Yes, you're correct. Okay. So let me know anybody is having difficulty in understanding that concept. Now we will see, after you are clear, then we will see how to actually do it in the program. Okay, so shall I go on and discuss the program for this? All clear to all? Okay, fine. Aryan, Maruti and others. What we are going to do is, first we are going to divide the number of days. So I'll write the program version of this in rough only, but because once you have understood, you can write very easily. Let's say user has entered the days, some value. So you are going to write years is equals to days divided by, we are going to take all these variable names in integers. I'll tell you the reason for that. Days by 365. This will give you answer is, like one of you said, 1.8 years or something like that. Okay, but will you get 1.8? Answer is no. Why? I said to assume everything as integers. You can write before this int years, months, weeks, days, okay, and final days, and these are the days given by the user. I'll take it as some different value, let's say n, and n. User has entered n some value int sc.nextInt. Okay, so now you are finding years. In years you will divide, not this, you will divide by n. N is the number of days entered by the user. So this will give you answer 1 point something, but because the highest data type in this expression, both n and this 365 are integers, therefore though answer will be 1 point some years, it will exclude the decimal part because the highest data type involved in this will be integers. So years will be always be getting this quotient part of the division process. Now, how do you get the months? Months was obtained here by whatever is the remainder of the division process where you found the number of years. So what was the division process? 565 divided by 365. You have to find the remainder of this. So what we will do is, and that will be divided by 30. So this remainder of the previous division divided by 30. So how do you obtain the remainder of the previous division? N, the remainder that is obtained when you divide n by 365. Just a minute please. Hello? Yes. Okay. So this remainder has to be again divided by 30. So we will do like this. Okay. This will, now because all the expressions involved in this are what you say integers, so this will give you again number of months in integers. What will be the number of weeks? Number of weeks will be this entire thing. Okay, you can see the division process, this entire thing we have to again, because this whatever was the division in earlier process, its remainder. So remainder that is obtained when dividing by 30, that will be divided by 7. So you will get the number of weeks. I am just giving you idea. You can just write it in a proper program. Okay, and number of days is equals to what was the remainder in this above division. So above division was by 7. So we can write something like n 365 or 30. Okay, mod 7, remainder of the above. That will be the number of days. Okay, just a minute. Sorry for the interruption. Hello? Yeah, good morning. Yeah. So Java is case sensitive. That means if you make any change from uppercase to lowercase and lowercase to uppercase, then there will be a problem. There might be a problem. So you should be very careful with that. Okay. So fine. Let us move forward to what is known as uh, relational operators. Okay, so you might have studied last year also. The Java relational operators compare between operands and determine the relation between them. Okay, so let's say you have operands, we know the things that are separating the operators, and these are operators. So what can be the operands? Operands can be like, so first of all we'll see how many types are there. We know there are 6 types of relational operators which is used for comparison between operands and establish a relationship or determine a relationship between them. So how can we determine relationship between two operands using one of the 6 operators? We can check if one operand is greater than the other. For example, 2 is greater than 3. Is it correct? Answer is no. 3 is greater than 1. Is it correct? Answer is yes. Okay. Greater than, less than we have seen. Is 3 greater than equal to 3? Yes. It is not greater than, but it is equal to. So if you have to check both the condition, whether greater than or equal to, then you will write like this. Okay. So answer is again yes. Is 5 less than equal to 4? Answer is no. Similarly, for comparing or checking whether two values are equal or not, so is 10 equal to 10? In that case we will write double equal to. Don't use single equal to. Why should we not use single equal to? For comparing the two different operands magnitude. Can anybody answer? Yes. Anyone will like to try? I'll see some new person here who has not spoken. Assignment, acha, Adya, good. Fine. So you say because single equal to is for assigning values. Yeah, correct. So that's a very common question that you may come across even in your interviews. You know, in interviews, cracking jobs is not like they will always ask you hi-fi questions. They will even ask you very basic questions also. So don't forget these things. So I'll write here separately. Difference between single equal to and double equal to in Java. You will say one is assignment operator and one is relational operator. Okay, one is assignment operator. That means it assigns a value into the variable. Assignment op, and this is relational operator. Okay, for checking equality. So how do we check not equal to? That will be exclamation mark followed by equal to. So is 9, let me change the color here. So this answer is true, not true, we'll write yes. And then wherever you get, let me complete first. 9 is not equals to 8. This is also correct. So you will get answer as yes. So you can see on both the sides of this six type of assignment of this relational operators, you will find numbers. Okay. So these numbers, the numbers that separate the operators are nothing but operands. So therefore, the Java relational operators compare between operands and determine the relationship between them. Okay. So therefore, they are known as relational. It determines whether 2 is greater than 3 or 3 is greater than 2, or it checks for equality between 2. So it's establishing some sort of comparative relation between the two operands which this operator is separating. These types of operators are separating. Always remember that I have written yes and no, but answer is always in the form of true and false. Now what are true and false? Just like integer, float, double, these types of data types, this true and false are also another data types in Java, okay, which are known as Boolean types. Okay, so I'll write true and false come under Boolean data type. Boolean data type. Okay, so they are separate data types. Why Boolean? Boolean algebra you will be studying in higher classes maybe. So there was one person, George Boole, his name was there. So he figured out the way computer performs mathematics. Computer till this day uses his logic only to calculate or take decisions, and his algebra which computer uses is consisting of only two values, zeros and ones. So similarly this value, because data type include two values only, true and false, which is some sort of similar to 0 and 1 but not equal to 0 and 1, and because of the similar nature of 0 and 1 it is termed as Boolean value. Just to give you additional information, it's not having much of the reference, much relevance. So what we can see is relational operators are used to have a comparative relationship study or a comparative relationship establishment or determination of comparative relationship between two operands which that operator is separating. Okay, so 2 and 3 there are two different operands, 3 and 1 there are two different operands. So this operator is separating different operands. So what is the relationship between them when compared, so that it gives the answer as true or false. Okay, so I have written yes or no, don't go by that yes or no, that yes is true and no is false. Computer will give you answer in true and false. Also, okay, where are they used? These are mainly used in control statements. So what are control statements? Okay, if you can see, control statements in Java are of three kinds. We are not going to dive much into it, I am just giving you a glimpse. Okay, control statements in Java are of three types: conditional statements, iteration statements which are nothing but loops, and then jump statements like break and continue. So these three conditional statements use relational operators extensively, that means hugely, okay, to solve the problems. So we will be using, why we are learning, because these relational operators will be used by the control statements. And what are those control statements? Conditional statements, iteration means repetition, so repetition statements, and jump statements, that is break and continue. Okay, so our next topic is, we'll be starting with what are the conditional statements. Okay, fine. So this control statements use relational operators which are used to establish relationship between two operands. They are of 6 types. Double equal to is used for comparing the value. Okay, single equal to is used for assignment, which is not relational operator. Not equal to is checked by exclamation mark equal to. Greater than and less than symbols are for checking the magnitude, which is bigger and which is smaller. Greater than equal to, if you write, this will also check for the equality condition along with greater than, and less than equal to will again check for equality condition along with less than. These operators on either side, on right and left side, will have two different operands or two, maybe two same operands also, and based on the comparison using that operator, the answer will either be true or false, which are of Boolean data type. Boolean data type has got only two values, true and false, which always appear when we are comparing something in using relational operators separating two operands, where truth is obtained when answer is yes and false is obtained when answer of comparison is no. Is this much this much concept clear to all about relational operators? Let me know. Okay, Shrestha, Aishwarya, Hashmita. Others also may respond so that I'll be confident to move ahead. Okay, don't hesitate in speaking up. I'll tell you something about myself. I was a big introvert and I had to suffer a lot. So, if you are not able to express yourself, you will be losing many opportunities in life. Okay, you are not able to respond. Some things I'll be telling outside about your general life also, so you can pay attention to that also. Those aspects will improve your soft skills. Okay, so always try to express, because if you are not expressive enough, if you hesitate to speak up among a bunch of people, and the people you know a bit, then that's a big problem if you're not able to express yourself in a mass of few people. Because what will happen when, let's say, when you enter in an interview room having 5 people, let's say 10 people who are unknown to you, and you are already under tension, under pressure, trust me, you will become numb. You won't speak up anything at all there. You will panic like anything. So just prepare yourself for those moments only. Okay, so try to be expressive. It's the time that you can afford to make mistakes. Yes, it is the time. So just keep on adding something to your personality. Anyways, we'll move ahead. Now, like I said, once we have understood relational operators, which are used for comparing between establishing relationship after comparing between two operands, and resulting in the answer of true or false, which corresponds to yes and no, depending on condition being true or false. In this context, in this backdrop, we are going to start with our first type of control statement, which is conditional statements. What are conditional statements? Okay, so before we can use those in programs, let us understand a few things. So far, till now, what we have done is we were dealing with programs which dealt with scenarios or circumstances which were pretty straightforward. That means you had a problem, and those problems, had some definite solution or definite outcomes, like adding two numbers. There is no other chance of getting something else. Whatever is the two numbers, you just add them using mathematics and the answer is definite. Okay. However, in practical life, the condition is not that simple and straightforward. There will be problems where, depending on circumstance, you may have different outcomes. Okay. Depending on conditions, you may have different outcomes. For example, I'll give you a simple, not related to programming, though you can write in the programming. You can say, I'll go out and play in the evening if it is not raining, else I will stay back at home and watch television. So there is a condition now. You are saying you are not sure what you will be doing, but you know that there are few possible outcomes. That is, you will either go out and play, or you will stay back at home and watch television, depending on the condition, and the condition being whether it rains or not. So such type of conditions will not be able to handle with whatever knowledge we have acquired so far, where in order to solve our problem we need to determine certain set of conditions, and depending on whether those conditions are true or false, or whether those conditions hold or do not hold, you will be doing one action or the other. Okay, so as of now, what we have learned is not sufficient to deal with circumstances in our problem solving using computer programs, where we need to decide based on certain criteria or conditions or certain factors, okay, which we need to consider while solving our problem. So right now we are only able to solve straightforward problems which has only one path, and you will go and you will go down that path and you will reach the solution. However, in real circumstances, you will come across something like I have shown in this diagram. So, let's say you have a problem. Okay, so you have a problem, and that problem you need computer to solve. So you start solving your problem by giving your computer the problem. Computer starts solving it. While solving, computer needs to check certain conditions, and then only it can give you the output. So such type of problems wherein computer needs to handle or to check some conditions before it can arrive at the solution, and depending on whether the condition is true or whether the condition is met or whether the condition is not met, okay, it will give you either the output type 1 or some different output. Okay, and then you will arrive at your solution. So see, understand this graph or chart. You are having a problem, you give it to the computer starts solving the problem. Okay, so you are having a problem, computer starts solving the problem. Now depending on whether your problem is depending on whether some conditions are met or not, computer will either arrive at solution 1 or at some different solution, and then it will give you the corresponding solution accordingly, or you will get the output accordingly. So we need to now handle these type of cases where the answer of the problem is not straightforward. It will be decided while executing, and computer will check certain conditions. If those conditions are met, that is, if the conditions hold true, it will give some other output. If the condition do not hold true, it will give some other output, some different output. Okay, so such type of problems and scenarios in real or real life problems can be handled by computer using these conditional statements and conditional statements. Okay, so to handle such cases, Java and almost all, not almost, I'll cut this word almost, all programming languages, all other programming languages including Java provide a mechanism to solve the problems by checking one or more conditions and then arriving at one of the many possible solutions of that problem. Okay, this mechanism of checking conditions in Java problem is implemented by conditional statements. So in Java you can use the following different types of conditional statements. Okay, so we will come to what are the different types of conditional statements, but till now using this chart, did you get this concept that in real life most of the times we need to the solution to the problem, the concept that the solution to the problem may not be straightforward, while because we may need to check some conditions before arriving at the solution, corresponding solution to that problem. Okay, so that condition check, it can be handled by Java using conditional statements, using this logic, whether the condition is true or false, and depending on that output 1 or output 2 or some other output 3 will come, and then you will get your solution. Therefore, we need conditional statements. Is this concept clear to all? Why do we need conditional statements in Java or any other programming language? Because there at times there may be more than one possible outcomes based on some conditions or factors which we need to check during the execution of the program. Okay. So Shreya, Adya, Hashmita and others, you are comfortable with the conditional statement part. Fine. Now, before we see how do we implement conditional statements in your program, I'll just show you one small program about relational operators which slipped out of my mind. I should have shown you just after that. So like I said, there are 6 different types of conditional statements. Double equal to, okay, not equal to, greater than, less than, greater than equals to, and less than equal to. So you can see I am concatenating the result of this expression, this expression, this expression and this expression with these messages. Okay, so num1 is a variable identifier which is having value 2, and num2 is a variable identifier of a second variable having the value 4. So there are 2 variables corresponding to num1 and num2. Okay, there are 2 variables, okay, corresponding to num1 and num2, and you are trying to establish using the relational operators what will be the answer. Can you tell me, is num1 equal to, double equal to means comparison equal to, is num1 is having the same value as num2? What do you think will be the answer if I write only this much? You can tell me. What do you think will be the answer if I try to print only that thing? Num1 double equal to num2. Yes, anyone? I have said answer will be either in yes or no, which in computer terms will be reflected by true or false. So is num1 in this question equal to num2 in terms of value? False. Okay, false. See, those who are typing in block letters, they should be very careful. If you, for the sake of conveying to me, you are writing it, it's okay. In computers, it will be wrong because computers Java is case sensitive. Okay, so all letters should be in lower case. Okay, so fine if you are explaining me the concept, but be very careful. This is the correct version, not this or this or this or this, whatever. Okay, fine. Answer will be false. Similarly, here also, is num1 not equal to num2? Yes, answer will be yes, they are not equal, so answer will be true. Similarly, is num1 greater than num2? Answer is yes, so computer will show true. So similarly, is this, for this it will show false because it is not correct. Okay, again this is correct, so answer will be true. Again this is false, so answer will be incorrect, so answer will be false. So we can execute it and we can see that program is 21. It compiled successfully. So you can see these are the result of this much part in all the lines is obtained because you are concatenating. Okay, concatenating the expression with the value. What will happen if I remove these brackets? Anything will happen? Let us check. In one case I'll remove. See, it gave error. Why? You cannot mix an expression, or you cannot concatenate an expression with a string. Okay, bad operand types of binary operator. Therefore, you remember, when you want to concatenate the result of an expression, you should always group the expression. This is an important concept I will definitely ask in one of the coming exams. Okay, output based. I'll give you some program, you will say error is there. Don't write the answer. So whenever you want the result of an expression to be concatenated or to be merged with a message, always group that expression. If you write the expression without grouping it, that will result in an error. Okay. So now if I have grouped, or not saved maybe. Okay. Now I have grouped the expression. So first, because of this grouping, this expression will be evaluated. One single value will be obtained for this, and then one single numeric value can be concatenated with a message. Okay. So always remember, when you want the result of an expression to be concatenated with any string or message, okay, just group that expression so that result can be obtained first, one single value can be arrived at first, and then that single value can be concatenated with, single numeric value can be concatenated with a string. Okay, is this thing clear? Just let me know. Okay, fine. Okay, good. So we can also see the result of these expressions are true, false, like that, depending on whatever was the output. So first result is arrived, and then this result is concatenated. Okay, fine. So we are clear with relational operator, and we are also clear with the purpose of, or the need of using conditional statement, which is one of the types of control statements. So like we have seen, I'll just brief a bit in 1 minute again. Conditional statements are used in Java in order to provide us a mechanism where we can decide what type of output, or which type of output, or which version of output will be given to us after matching some conditions in the programs, after keeping in consideration some conditions or some factors in the program, and whether those factors were met or not met. Okay, based on that, we arrive at a solution of one type or the other for the same problem. Okay, so it helps us making decisions in the problem. So whenever decision has to be made, whenever choice has to be picked, okay, in such cases, or whenever some factors are to be considered, in such cases, using conditional statements in Java is must. Okay, so with this background, we will start what are the different types of conditional statements. You have different types of or versions of conditional statements, which are if, else, if, and switch. Okay, so what is if? If is used to specify a block of code. Now, you may ask, sir, what is a block of code? I'll show you. These curly braces form what is known as block. You can see these curly braces, right? Okay, so these curly braces form a block. So, though we are going to study this topic last, classes and objects, I'll tell you this is a class, and what is contained in the block of the class, whatever is enclosed within its curly braces, that means all these things forms the block of class. What is contained in the block of main function? We'll see later what is function. But what is contained in the block of main function? Whatever is contained within the curly braces of main function. Okay. So what are the statements contained in the block? These are the statements contained in the block. Similarly, this is saying if also has its curly braces and blocks, just like this shown here. Okay. Sorry. I'll show you. Okay, so you can see here this curly brace and this curly brace. Whatever lies within this opening and closing curly braces of if, that is what is forming your block. Okay, just a minute. So now, if is used to make choice based decision, or if is used to make to make comparative study, or is used to rather decide on conditions in program. So after if, this is a syntax. What do we mean by syntax? Syntax means the way of writing in correct form in your code. Okay, so here you have how do we write if in a correct form. This is the structure. If followed by condition in simple brackets. See, here it won't be called parenthesis. Parenthesis, it is called, simple brackets are called parenthesis when it immediately comes after any word. Okay, not after if. Okay, so if condition. We also learned just a while ago that relational operators are used extensively in control statements, and conditional statements being the control statements, one of the types of conditional control statements, they will be using relational operators. Where they will be using relational operators? Inside this bracket which is written here as condition. So here in condition you will be having relational operators with operands. Okay, so we'll of course shortly see those things, but first things first, we'll see the different types of mechanisms of making decisions in your Java program. That is the different types of conditional statements. First is if, second is if with else, third is if with else with else if else if and else, sorry. Fourth is switch. Today we are going to, rather today and maybe in next class tomorrow, we are going to deal with first three things. Switch we are going to complete. Once we complete, we are going to start with, once we complete if else, and if else if else. Okay, so there are three versions: if statement only, if else statement only, if else if and else statement only. So these are the forms of writing these different types of statements. We'll see first if statement with the help of a program. How this if statement helps us deciding or making decision or checking conditions. Okay, so fine. So we'll see one code. Let's say example of if. Let's say that we have got two numbers stored in two different variables named as x and y. Both can store integer type. See here in the one single line, I am defining or declaring as well as I am initializing in one single line. Okay, the variables. So first we have created a variable named as x and have said we will store integer type values only, and in that same line we are storing that value also. Okay, so declaration Declaration is also known as definition. Okay, so declaration and initialization both we are doing in the same line. Okay, in both these cases. So variable created along with the values in one single line. So x and y now have 20 and 18. Using if, we are going to make a decision whether x is greater than y or not. If it is greater, we will print yes, x is greater than y. So are we not making a decision here? Are we not checking whether x is greater or y is greater? Yes, we are checking using if. So this form of if is the first type of making decisions. We are only going to act, or we are only going to print if x is greater than y. Okay, so we'll see the output once. Okay. So 20 is greater than 18. What if, see, I told you, if in the bracket it has condition, if you see this form, if immediately after it has in brackets, simple brackets conditions. So you can see if is immediately followed by bracket containing the condition, and this condition, like I said, is using relational operators to determine the value. Okay, so if acts based on whether the condition is true or false. So if you write them separately, we have seen in the evaluation result, greater than and less than, they result in, when written in bracket, they result in either true or false. So first, here this will be solved, condition will be solved, and internally this will be changed to if true. That means if the condition is met, because this thing will result in either true and false. We have seen here the output, right? True and false. So internally in the program, once you write, when computer is solving, it will not go inside the block of if. What is the block of if? The curly braces containing the statements. In this case, the block has got only one statement. Okay, so like we saw, whatever is contained within the curly braces of if forms its block. So those block of codes will only be executed if the condition mentioned here is true. Okay, so here we will see, is x greater than y? If you print only this much, what it will reply? X is greater than y. Answer is true. So this will be replaced by, for now I am doing, I'll revert back, true. Okay, so if answer is true, go inside the block and execute the statements. If answer is false, do not go inside the block, just go on further in the program. So if this happens to be false, if will not go inside its block, or if will only go inside its block if the condition mentioned here evaluates to true. So we can see the condition mentioned here, x is greater than y, will evaluate to true because actually the x is containing greater value than y. Therefore, it will go inside and print the message, okay, on the screen which you saw here. Okay. However, if I make changes and if I put this, and then we will see, okay, then we are going to execute, what will happen? Any guess? Anyone? Nothing happened, right? Why nothing happened? Like I said, if will only go inside its block when the condition that you are giving results in true. However, in earlier case, when x was greater than y, this condition evaluated to true, it was replaced here in the background, and then if true, if by its nature will go inside its block which is contained within its own pair of opening and closing braces. Okay, So depending on the condition which uses relational operators and operands to establish relation and finally results in either true or false, it will if will decide whether I have to go inside my block and execute the statements, or I don't have to go inside my block and simply skip my block and then move forward in the program. Is this concept clear to all? Let me know. Okay. Ashmita, Aishwarya, Jayesh, and others. Okay, good. Fine. See, 1 or 2 class I'll be observing who all are responding here. Else I'll start picking up myself. Don't become another version of me. Okay, fine. Now, we will come to the second type, which will be having second type of matching conditions. Okay, so here we will be giving two alternatives. What we discussed just now was only one way path. If the condition happens true, then go this way, do this thing and end the program. If it is not true, okay, if it is false, then do not do anything and simply escape and exit. We were not handling the second alternative part when the condition was resulting in false. Now, in our next program, using if and else. That means when do we use if and else? When there are only two alternatives. Either this will happen or that will happen. Okay, either the condition will result in true or condition will result in false. So when in your program there are only two possible outcomes, then you are going to use this type, this version of if, to be used when only two possible outcomes for your problem. For your problem or program. Okay. Fine. So when you have only two alternatives, either this will happen or this will not happen, in those cases you are going to use this. Now you may ask, sir, when to use this one? Okay. This should only be used if statement. This version should only be used when there may be two or more outcomes for your program, but you have to act only in one condition. There may be two or more possible outcomes, but you have to act or do something in one case only. Okay, so only in such cases. See here the example that we saw. There are two possible outcomes here. Either x will be greater than y, either this if will result in true or this will result in false. Okay, but we are not concerned for the case when the outcome will be false. So though there are two possible outcomes for this matching condition, for this condition testing, that is either this condition will result in true or false, we are only concerned when the condition matches or when the condition results in true. So out of the two or more possible outcomes, in this case only two outcomes are there, we are only concerned about one possible outcome when x is greater than y. Okay, so in such case when you need to only display message in case only one particular type condition is true, then, and in other case you don't have to do anything, you will simply ignore. In such a case you will use only single if. Okay, you will use only the first version of conditional statement. Okay, in case there are two or more possible outcomes, but you have to act or do something in one case only. However, when there are two or more possible outcomes, when there are only two possible outcomes and you have to handle both, okay, plus handle both. Handle both outcomes. I'll delete this. See, what is the difference between if statement and if else statement? Here there may be two or more outcomes, but we are going to handle only one case. Then only single if is required. When there are only two possible outcomes, but we have to handle both the cases, whether the condition is true or false, then we will be using the second version. Okay, we will see that. So here only we had to handle only for one case when x was greater than y. We will be seeing the next case now. Okay, when we have to check both the cases. If first is greater than second, then print first is greater. Else, if this condition is not true, if this condition is true, get inside the if block, that means curly braces of if, and do whatever statements have been asked to execute those statements. If this condition is results in false, then go inside the else block. Else block is starting here and ending here. Okay, and execute this statement. Okay, so we are handling, there are two possible outcomes and we are handling both the outcomes. When it is true, in which case it will go inside if block. What is the block of if? Curly braces enclosing if. And if this condition is false, we will be going inside else block, which is contained within the else braces. Okay, so depending on the case, only one of these conditions or one of the outputs will be executed or will be displayed. Why? Because either this statement will be true, in which case it will go here, or it will be false, in which case it will go inside the block of else. Let us see the execution of this program. So this program is, I'll just brief you out a bit. This program is to print the bigger among the two numbers entered by the user. Example of if else. Okay. So here we have two conditions and we are handling both the conditions. So that means the program will print whether it is greater or whichever is greater. It will print that. So either num1 can be greater or num2 can be greater. Only two possible outcomes. So we will be displaying in both the cases. If num1 is greater, and can we decide here in the same program? No. It will be decided at the runtime. Why? It will be decided in the runtime because num1 and num2 we are accepting from the user from outside. We don't know whether the user will give the num1 as greater or num2 as greater. It is up to the user who is executing the program. So as per the wishes of the user, num1 and num2 will be filled with two different values, and then if will come into action based on this condition of if, which will use relational operators to determine whether the outcome will be true or false. Based on that, it will either enter into, if this condition happens to be true, it will enter into if block. If the condition stands false, it will enter into else block. Okay, so two conditions, two possible outcomes, we are handling both. So we are using if else version. If the condition is true, it will go in if block. If the condition is false, it will go in else block. We will see the execution. So our program should ask for two values from the user and then it will decide which one is greater. Let us see. we have successfully compiled the code. That means machine level language version was created. Okay, now we will will execute that file, which will pick up the machine level language version and will execute it. It is asking for from the user the first number. Let's say I give the first number as 23 and the second number I give as 65, sorry, let's say 5, and let us see the output. It is saying 23 is greater. So in this case, num1 is 23 and num2 is 5. So what do you think? Did it go inside if block, or did it go inside else block? Here we are you just have a look. We gave num1 as 23, the first one, and num2 as 5, because num1 was the first value to be asked and num2 was second. So now based on this, can you tell me which block did it go into? Did it go into if block based on the evaluation of this condition, or did it go into else block? First of all, tell me, did it result in the this expression result in true or false? Okay, Adya says if block, Aishwarya says if block, okay, correct. So that means the result of the condition matching or using relational operators was true. Then only it will go into if block. Yes, so all of you are correct. Others can also promptly reply there, no problem in that. Okay, so now let's say in our next program, in the same execution, if I give first one as 5 and next one as minus 10, answer is 5 is, okay, here also we did the same. Let's make the second value greater. First value I'll give as minus 3, second value I'll give as 1. Answer is 1 is greater. In this case, num1 got minus 3 and num2 got 1. So what do you think? Which block this condition after resulting in either true or false go into? If block or else block? Else block. Okay, fine. So all of you seem to be getting the hang of it. That's good. Okay, Jayesh, Aryan, excellent, very good. Fine. So we have seen that this program only had two possible outcomes. Either num1 will be greater or num2 will be greater, and because we are checking both, then we are using if else version. If we had to ignore one, if we had to handle only one, like in this case, we would have gone with only if version. If out of many possible outcomes only one is required, we'll go with if version. If there are only two possible outcomes and we are handling both the outcomes, then we will go with if else version of conditional statements or condition matching. Right? Now, third version is, of course, I'll just give you the brief of the third version and then we will stop for today. I'll not show you the program. Third version is used. Third version is used. We'll start with this third version tomorrow, but I'll just give you in next 1 minute a glimpse of that. Third version, that if else statement is used when there are more than two possible outcomes and we are handling all of them. Okay, that means if there are not all, if there are more than two possible outcomes and we are handling most of them, that is we intend to handle more than two of them. Let's say there are 5 possible outcomes and we want to handle 3 cases. Okay, so in any case, if you have to handle 3 cases, more than 2 cases, okay, then you will go with if else statement. So remember, only 2 cases need to be handled, go with if else. More than 2 cases need to be handled based on condition. More than one condition are there, and based on that more than two possible outcomes can come. Then go for if else version. Okay, so we'll start with this if else version tomorrow, in which case we will learn how to handle more than more than two conditions, or rather more than two possible outcomes. Okay, so we'll see it in the next class. Just analyze one thing for today. What will happen? We'll also start with the discussion of that. Remind me if I happen to forget. If instead of quotes here, I give quotes here. Okay, I'll just put a comment to it. So that you can analyze. Okay, not related to if else, just a not simple question. Okay, so you can analyze on that, and we will start with the third version when we are going to handle more than two possible outcomes. Till two possible outcomes, if you have to handle only one possible outcome, go with if. If you have to handle two possible outcomes only, go with if else. If you have to handle more than two possible outcomes, then go with if, elif, else, if, else, if, else version. And we will be starting with if, else, if, else version tomorrow. Okay, so see you guys tomorrow. Okay, hopefully you all have a wonderful day ahead. Take care. I'll stop the recordings.